Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator of the Bhakti Center, New York, Kaustuba Das. Welcome to the show. It is episode 1418. And we have a special guest today, but before we bring on our special guest, oh, Kaustuba, what a weekend. I saw so many Zoomers, so many others.
I can feel your energy, Raghunath. You are feeling fulfilled, having had a wonderful weekend.
Mara, say something. It was spiritually high.
It was really high all weekend.
Wow. Okay.
I went into there with
with
a lot of low self-esteem because I haven't really taught yoga in so long. I've just been giving lectures and talks and podcasts. I did yoga. We did 3-hour Bhagavad Gita classes. We did kirtans. We hung out with the Philly crew.
That Philly crew. There's something special brewing in Philadelphia right now.
There's something special in Philadelphia right now, and it's very, very exciting. And New Jersey too. These places were all packed with people just like in that Bhakti spirit and the Bhakti mood.
From New York to Philadelphia and Jersey, in between South Jersey especially. I think this is it's a vein.
It's a jugular vein. It's a lifeline.
Yeah, aorta.
Bhakti. It's a heart.
It's the very heart of Bhakti.
It's the heart of Bhakti, New Jersey.
But we got to spend more time with that. I'm really thinking about this.
Yeah, you do. I just was.
We did one little thing.
You have to. I did a few things. Happy Monday, everybody. It's good to be back and landing on the farm for a couple days. And then me and Mara and Bhakti Udi are heading down to DC for Radhastami. And we start our shelter tour.
Down, back and forth.
You know what? Sometimes you gotta be following the footsteps of the Parivrajaka Acharyas. You just got to wander forth.
But they don't wander back to the house like.
Occasionally, you got to check in and check.
You got to feed the dog.
You got to feed the dog and check on the plants.
All right. Anyway, I'm happy for you two. You had a great weekend. And I'm happy for everyone that you connected with.
Yeah, we're here live with Bhakti Udi and Catherine A. They're part of our ashram here. And Miss Mara, we have any announcements before we bring on our special guest?
Yeah, we're a little neglectful, but it's Wear Your Merch Monday.
Oh man. Well, I wore my Ben and Esther's
I saw you wearing some other merch.
I wore some other merch supporting our vegan Prashadam Jewish deli in San Diego and Portland.
But you can help us promote the show by wearing your Wisdom of the Sages merch, taking a picture and sharing it on social media, and tagging us on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll share it.
Timothy Tucker and Lady Kate are representing today.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's bring on our guest. We have inspired devotee, guru, inspiration to all of us, actually, Visheshika Prabhu, who's dedicated his life to distributing transcendental literature. And he's going to come up and talk about the Srimad Bhagavatam for a few minutes.
It's that time of year again.
It's that time of year. Visheshika Maharaj, please welcome to the show. How are you?
So happy to be back here. Great to see everybody. Thank you very much, Raghunath, Kaustuba, Mara.
Pleasure.
Tell us what's going on right now.
We're closing in on the date. It's a date we discovered in the Srimad Bhagavatam itself. We had seen it many times before, but the more we aimed towards increasing the distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam around the world, as was the wish of our founder Acharya, to make sure that people had the opportunity to hear this literature for themselves. More we were looking for ways to have traction in doing that. And there's a verse in the 12th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam that states very clearly, plainly, there's no way around it, that when you give away the gift of a set of Srimad Bhagavatams on the full moon day in the month of Bhadra, which is this year in America, it's on September 17th, then the result is that you're elevated to the spiritual world. So that's what it says.
Okay.
So we started a campaign in 2018 to aim towards Vajra all over the world, to unite all the continents, all the continental leaders, and anybody who's interested in the Srimad Bhagavatam and expanding it, to work together to have ever increasing numbers to make sure everyone gets a copy. And so we've had really interesting results. The first 2 years were a plateau at 7,000. That's for the world. It was just getting started. And then in frustration, because I hate plateaus, I made a declaration in front of all the leaders of ISKCON when I was in Tirupati, India, that we were going to do at least 10,000 sets worldwide for 2020. And I don't want to dredge up any bad memories, but I don't know if you remember what happened in 2020.
All right.
By the time March came around, there was this little thing happening. And we thought, or a lot of people thought, how is it going to happen? But actually, it was a huge year. We went over 24,000 sets of Bhagavatams. And since then, we've been incrementally increasing all over the world. And the more we do, the more we can see that we can do.
Well, we always say the best way to change the world is to give knowledge and wisdom, because that way people really focus on changing themselves, and we become a ripple effect of our of sort of our vibration and our activities and our thoughts. So yeah, it's a very important time. How can we be of service with wisdom of the sages? Because you have a lot of people that love the Srimad Bhagavatam. A lot of people listen to it every day. I meet people that I never meet because they're not on Zoom. They're just out there in the world, and they say, "Oh, I listen to this podcast like every day," and it's always shocking. How can we serve this community?
We have pipelines that go out to various places around the world. As an example, in South America, there are people that can't afford and never will be able to afford a Srimad Bhagavatam set. We've already placed 700 sets there, and we're getting videos back from people with tears in their eyes thanking us. We have another 600 lined up, and people can sponsor for them. We have villages all over India. The village system in India is actually the mainstay of the whole country, and they are little tribes, people who live there and have very simple life close to the earth. But oftentimes they forget their culture, they forget what their purpose is, and they get distracted in many different ways. And what we're doing is systematically going through these tens of thousands of villages, and we're have individuals going there and personally placing the Srimad Bhagavatam sets in their what they call learning centers. Every one of the village has a learning center. And once they go in there, it's amazing how one set of books, something we might take for granted, becomes the nucleus of that community. And we have that many. Yes, please.
It's in their language?
Yes, we have in multiple languages. So we match the language to the countries we're sending them to. And we have many such pipelines around the world. And it's also in America as well. We're putting Srimad Bhagavatam sets in places where people will have access to them. So this is what we're doing everywhere, is in every country. Devotees are coming together, and those who want to get the benefit of giving the gift of Srimad Bhagavatam can sponsor a set, or if you need one and you can't afford it, we'll give you one. We're up to Kaustuba has the basics of it. We sent him last night of what we're doing, if you want to tell everybody.
Okay, so there are 4 options, ways that people can get involved. One, they can get a set of Srimad Bhagavatams for themselves. Right? Nothing wrong with that.
No, it's a good one.
And 2, they can sponsor a set of Srimad Bhagavatam for family, friends, or fellow Wisdom of the Sages listeners. And this has become a popular thing amongst our community every year, that, if you want to, well, and then let me read the whole thing. Number 3, they can sponsor a set of Srimad Bhagavatams, and a eager recipient will be found for them. In similar ways that Vaisheshika Prabhu just mentioned, maybe a village in India, people in Ukraine, You know, that's a place where they're sending books, et cetera, et cetera. Hospitals, prisons. There's a lot of places where they can put them.
Libraries.
Libraries, yeah,
That's
and
great.
or even if you can't give a set, but you just want a set.
You just want a set.
If you just
What if you
want
want
a
to
set,
give a set and you spent your money giving it and now you want one? Is that a
you,
better choice?
you
Because
can
that way
give
you're
and
getting
get.
you're
That's
getting the right. You're
eh,
getting the benefit for giving. You're still gonna get it anyway.
yeah. S- And I think, you know, how much does a set cost, Vaisheshika Prabhu?
It depends on which country you're
Okay.
sending it to. The
Mm,
ones that are going to India, $200. The ones here in the United States, 250.
okay.
Oh, so
And so let's say you want to give it to, I think that includes Canada as well. Yeah,
mm.
the
Yeah.
250. And so this set, it's like a box arrives in your home.
like an encyclopedia, like in the old days when you get the World Book
It's life-changing.
Encyclopedia.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
beautiful.
I've been in on it when we bring the books to people. We do a lot of that personally, and we'll go to their homes.
Yeah,
You know, when you put a set of books in your homes, it's a statement to the world, to your
Sure.
family. It's
yeah.
not just books. You're saying that this is our value system. People come in and say, "What are all these books?" It's like, "Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
they're very
we're into
beautiful,
this."
colorful, beautifully illustrated with beautiful paintings. It's dynamic. When you open up that box, it's like
It,
electric. It's on fire, you know.
it's not just a stale academic library. There's beautiful pictures. I would sit down with my children and just look at the pictures when they were little. You know, it's like having it's like installing an altar in your house.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah. And we actually do a little ceremony when we bring them in. We do a
Mm.
puja, offering some incense, flowers, and then we have, if it's a family, everyone sits down and everyone in the family will read a paragraph from the preface, which is an
No,
amazing statement Prabhupada made about the Bhagavatam.
Mm.
that's beautiful. So if you would like to either buy a set for yourself, sponsor a set for a friend or family member, sponsor a set that will go to the, you know, you can even say, I would like it to go to the tribal village in India, or that'll go to someone that you don't know. Or if you would like a set yourself, this is what you do. You text, WhatsApp, or call the lovely and talented Malini at,
Malini.
at the she does this every year.
I met her in India.
Yeah, me too. Everybody loves Malini when
Yeah.
you actually make a friend when you do this. It's not just
You make a
like
friend too,
you make a
and you
friend
get a
as
set
well.
of Bhagavatams.
Yeah. And so her number is, or the number that you're using for this is +1 669 289 5563. Again, that's +1 669 289 5563. Raghunath, I see you
Operators
lighting
are
up.
standing by.
I see you lighting up because anything that reminds you of growing up in the 70s, television, any trivial
For
stuff
one
like that.
penny, you get 10 LPs.
Okay. And then Malini will help you. You just tell her, don't be embarrassed to say, I want a set. And you know what? I'm going to talk to Malini and I'm going to ask her that if we can have a category of wisdom, just say like, I'm from Wisdom of the Sages and I want a set. Or I'm from Wisdom of the Sages and I want to give to a Wisdom of the Sages person. And that way we can really help our inner community here too, because we're reading Bhagavatam every day. It's only makes sense that we have a set in our homes. And so I think amongst the sage groups we can really there's about 300 people in the sage groups. We can really spread the word on this, and give a set, get a set. Don't be shy. That box will arrive in your house, and believe me, your heart's
Like-
gonna melt.
It's like Christmas morning.
Yeah, every
When
year
that
people
Srimad
post.
Bhagavatam set comes.
They post photos on Instagram, like, oh my God, this, like, I forgot all about this. And then this box arrives in their home and they're like, my God, this is so beautiful. And, you can just pick it up and read one verse a day and it'll
Yeah.
change your life.
Yeah, one little
Bring a lot of
Krishna.
auspiciousness into the home.
You just go right to the 10th canto, read a little story. Read a little story before
read a
you go
little
to
story.
bed.
The life-changing stories.
Visheshika Prabhu, thank you so much for being here and being in our life. We're grateful.
Very grateful.
I'm grateful to you, and we look forward to this time every year to come on and talk about Srimad Bhagavatam. Just
know-
as far as having it in our home, my wife and I, every evening, no matter how busy we are, we always stop and sit together and read a chapter back and forth. She'll read 10 verses and I'll read 10 verses. And it really makes a foundation for our lives so that we don't get so distracted by all the things that we're doing. Of course, they're not distractions that we're doing.
All the things
kinds
you're
of
doing, you're
service.
distributing the Srimad Bhagavatam every moment of the day.
Yeah, it was one thing Prabhupada said to me in 1973 in San Francisco when we met him
Wow.
as a small group and we were introduced by our temple president. And temple president said this group was distributing your books, and Prabhupada looked right at us and said, "You must also read my books." He said, "I've not written them just for selling. I've written them for you to read and become pure devotees and go back to Godhead." So that's the benefit of having the Bhagavatam in your house. It calls to you, and having the actual volume there is consequential also. The ancient wisdom literatures talk about the ways in which when you respect these literatures and keep them in your home, it's like having a deity in your house. And we've noticed it when people install it, when they put it in their house, the mood of the house changes. And when you have access to it and you pull it out, and as you were just saying, Raghunath, probably looking at the pictures, reading a few verses, it speaks to you directly. And it's a great solace to have the Srimad Bhagavatam.
You know, in what sense, Vaisheshika Prabhu is at the origin of this podcast, because Raghunath in 2019, he said to me, I have a few students, they want to study something every morning on Zoom. This was before anyone was using Zoom practically, you know, before COVID and all that. And he said, what do you think I ought to do? What should we study? How should we, you know, and at that time, because you had suggested, you had this little meter thing where you could figure out if I read this many verses of this, I can, you know, and the idea was in 6 months, if you read 80 verses a day, I think it was, that you could finish the entire Bhagavatam in 6 months. And
yeah, it's an app.
Yeah, it's an app. That's right.
You know, when you look at a set of books like the Srimad Bhagavatam, like you might think like I could never finish that.
Right. It's intimidating.
So I did it for myself. I figured out that there's a finite number of pages in the Srimad Bhagavatam and all the other books.
Although it's unlimited.
It ends?
So
I thought it was unlimited.
we made a chart. It was on paper to start with.
Yeah.
And it just tells how many pages to read every day to finish within a certain amount of time. And it turns out that it's predictable. If you, for instance, what I do is I read 41 pages a day, which means I finish the whole Srimad Bhagavatam in a year. But if you want to do
purports or just with the verses?
Yeah, the purports too.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's only an hour. It's an hour investment of time to finish.
With a huge return on investment.
But then we made it into an app. So the app is called Be a Sage Page by Page.
Be a Sage Page by Page. Where did we get that? Apple?
Both Android, Apple. It's available. It's a free app.
All right.
And it has all the Prabhupada's books and a little picker wheel. You can just turn the wheel. And then you line it up and say, when do I want to finish? And so it has a toggle switch too. If you're reading electronically, it tells you how many verses rather than pages.
I was using the verse one. And so my wife and I were reading 80 verses a day, and just, you know, we said, okay, 6 months, we do the whole Bible. We were fired up. We were enjoying it so much. We couldn't, I was like telling everybody, I was trying not to be too much of a, you know, like getting on
evangelist.
Evangelist. But I was like, this is changing everything. You know, we let those books sit on the shelf, but you just pick them up and start to engage with them. And it just lights up your life. So I said to Raghunath, why don't you read Bhagavatam every day? And that was actually the origin of what became Wisdom of the Sages podcast. Now thousands of people are downloading every day. So thank you.
I hope you see us as your supporters in your mission, Vaisheshika Prabhu.
Oh, wow. I mean, we're so grateful for what you're doing and what all of you are doing together. The vibration that's coming from Wisdom of the Sages reaching out all over the world. In fact, wherever we go, we always meet people that come up very exuberantly, where we have book tables and say, Hare Krishna. It's like, where are you from? Well, it's 85% wisdom of the sages.
Oh, that's sweet.
So
Right.
it's having a systemic effect all over the world, what you're doing.
Wow.
It's very powerful. And just about reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, I started 24 years ago going during Kartik to Vrindavan and just taking the whole month to read Bhagavatam, do nothing else. So we
Wow.
have a set up there at Govardhan Hill. We have an ashram out there. And now it's become a big festival. Well, so many people come, and we have a theater we've set up because only so many people can fit in the room. But now we have a courtyard where people can sit right outside and hear. And it's 5 hours a day, just hearing from the Bhagavatam and having some discussion in between. And everybody is transfixed in hearing the Bhagavatam. And there's a way in which the Bhagavatam itself is mentioned. It's mentioned in the 10th Canto of the Bhagavatam that it's Austerity. It's called medicinal.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever ills you have mentally, physically, spiritually, they're cured by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. That's the claim of the Bhagavatam. And I've experienced it for myself daily, and also taking a month off just to read it, that whatever anomalies I'm being affected by in my mind, they get resolved through the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's very practical. It's the medicinal cure
Mm.
for the ill effects we feel from the world.
You
I
know,
believe it.
today's
I
a
believe it.
special day for us, Prabhu, because today we begin the 8th canto.
Mhm. Would you
Yeah.
like to share some inspiration on the 8th canto?
Yeah, one of the most important aspects of the 8th canto is the story of Gajendra.
Mm.
Yeah.
Gajendra is following the life of a king, Indradyumna, who had been a king, and then in his next life, he became an elephant. Minus the details, it's the way of the material world that anything can happen. Don't assume
Up
that
you go
whatever you
down.
have now, you're going to keep forever, and it's just all going to go on status quo. You know, Krishna's warning us in the Bhagavad Gita that this life is temporary, but you can make the most of it by elevating your consciousness. And Indradyumna, then as an elephant, was the king of the jungle. And he got one day, even though he was feeling that he had everything, everyone was following him, he got captured when he was taking a bath in a lake by a crocodile who glommed onto his leg and wouldn't let go. And the story goes on, and there's this epiphany that although the elephant is so powerful, when he's in the water with the crocodile, he can't overcome that. And he ends up remembering the prayers that he had made in his last life.
Mm.
First, he doesn't even know who he's praying to. It just comes out spontaneously. And then there's this intervention by Lord Narayan who comes and saves him. So this is a famous story, and it's very deep because there's a way in which every one of us has a crocodile on our leg.
Oh,
If you
man,
check
I feel
out
that
how
sometimes.
life is going, it's like I can't shake it.
Can't shake
Get
this
him off my
crocodile.
leg. You know? And then the Bhagavatam says, here's your solution. There's an intervention available that you have to make it yourself from your heart.
Mm.
I just say one other lesson from that section, which is,
Please.
it's a perennially effective and important instruction. In the story of Gajendra, Srila Prabhupada gives this commentary where he says, you have to find a way of life which is natural for you. Sometimes we compare ourselves to others and we think I should be doing more of this and more of that. Prabhupada says you have to live in a natural way so that you feel comfortable enough so that you have a foundation upon which you can do your bhakti. And he gives this the analogy is that the elephant is powerful on the land and the crocodile is powerful in the water.
Mm.
And when the elephant goes in the water, he feels incompetent to fight off a crocodile.
Losing strength.
Yeah. So we have to be strong. We have to be healthy. Take care of yourself, your body, mind, and have 2 feet on the ground. Live a simple but healthy life, and then use the balance of your energy to advance spiritually.
Mm.
It's just reassuring because oftentimes we forget that these two things go together. We have to have balance in our life. And that's one of the main lessons from that story.
Thank you. We're looking forward to
Beautiful.
digging in.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show this morning, giving us a little eighth canto inspiration, as well as sharing the Bhagavat Purana with so many people. Thank you so much for everything that you do and being part of our life.
Thank you, Pros. It's such a pleasure. So be standing by. Anyone who wants a set, we'll make it happen for you. If you want to send a set to somebody, we'll
What
make
an
that
offer.
happen.
It's incredible.
It's
Whatever
an
you
incredible
want.
offer. You want to give it? You want to, everyone's trying to sell you something in the material world. So it's sort of like, yeah, you can buy this, you can buy this, you can buy this, or you could just want it and we'll give it to you. That was where you flipped it right there. That's where you caught it, everybody off guard.
It hasn't sunk it in. Hold it. You're going to give me a $250 set of books? Yes.
What's the catch here? What am I supposed to do for that? No,
Thank you.
we just want to get this beautiful word out. It's the way to change the world, is distributing wisdom, and which is direction, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Did you pick up on that word glom, Raghunath? Glom.
Glom?
You're a word nerd.
No, I did
Glom.
not.
You didn't hear him say it. I heard him say it, so I looked it up. Glom. That the alligator glommed onto him.
Never
Become
said that
stuck
word.
or attached to.
Glommed. All right, let's dive in.
Okay.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before we start the Srimad Bhagavatam, whichever means a conquest, one should offer respectful obeisance to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the most human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and the Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshu badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in class in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome in the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Midatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers opened my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto
Eighth
H,
canto.
Chapter 1, Text 1.
Yeah.
Sorry, we got like World War III of the birds going on outside.
You looked a bit distracted.
I'm distracted. It's like, is there a fox around or something? Something is happening outside in birdland. There's always tragedy in the material world, be it human or animal. Hey, by the way, I'd like to see some feedback on the message board, what you thought of the interview day yesterday with Cam and Kip from the new movie Christspiracy. They also made the movie What the Health, Cowspiracy, Seaspiracy. I enjoyed all those movies. And really,
you're a conspiracy guy. I mean,
I'm a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy, Kastuba. Bhagavat conspiracy, maybe they should be their next one.
This one was Christspiracy.
Christspiracy is about sacred animals, and is there a holy way to kill an animal?
But they're saying that there's a conspiracy within the church.
I think they use that. Whether it's a conspiracy or they're just attached to the way they're living, they don't want to face these. They don't want to face.
You're saying that there's no conspiracy?
I'm not saying it's I haven't watched the movie yet, but I think it's either a planned conspiracy or it's just people get attached to their way of living and they don't want to push it, and they're overlooking some statements and some translations, or mistranslating things to serve their palate. They become clouded to their attachments, and it's like playing the what do you call that? The telephone game, where you just pass it on, and then after a while you loosen
knowledge
when you
filter.
When you water things down so much, it's like taking a glass of milk and you just add a little or a glass of orange juice, and you keep on watering it down. After a while, you're not drinking the orange juice anymore. So we have to be careful, and I think they're bringing up some valid points. But it was a good interview. It was good to hear them, and I found it a little bit inspirational. I would love to hear people's feedback on the message board, and if you haven't checked it out, check it out.
Okay. Now we begin the 8th chapter. Why don't you read the first verse, and then we'll give a little background. But the first verse, I think, will kind of kick it off.
Okay. Oh, my Lord, my spiritual master, now I have fully heard from your grace about the dynasty of Svayambhuva Manu. But there are also other Manus, and I want to hear about their dynasties. Kindly describe them to us. So the Manus, these are like the fathers of mankind. It's actually where we get the English word man from. And now they're talking about not just one Manu, there's like a whole series of Manus, because this is a very, very bigger universe, bigger amount of time that civilized beings have been here, the Bhagavatam describes.
Yeah, read the next verse as well.
O learned Brahmana, Sukadeva Goswami, the great learned persons who are completely intelligent describe the activities and appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead during the various manvantars. We are very eager to hear about these narrations. Kindly describe them.
Okay. So we have Maharaj, this is sage level 2. We're back up, right? It's Maharaj Pariksit questioning Shukadeva Goswami, the classic Bhagavatam conversation going on here. And he's saying that you've described, for cantos now, going back to the 3rd canto, we've been hearing about the descendants of Svayambhuva Manu. So we're going back to what the Bhagavatam is going. Let's go back to the origins of the universe here. You've got Lord Vishnu. From his navel grows a lotus, and then Brahma is born on that lotus, the 4-headed creator. He performs tapasya, he performs austerity, and receiving divine inspiration in his heart from Lord Vishnu, he begins some unimaginable task of creating the universe, all the different species, the different planets, like with his mind, and somehow he's just like, he's able to do this, but from him is born Svayambhuva Manu, and it's so these manvantars that it's talking about. It means these different. It's a kind of like a time calculation, and there are 14 Manus in a kalpa, I believe, right? And so one way to just kind of go through the history of the universe on this huge time scale is to talk about the Manus, or the manvantars, the periods of time that were governed by these kind of heads of mankind. And Svayambhuva Manu is the first. And all that we've been hearing from the 3rd canto up to now you can really kind of trace it on a family tree coming from the descendants of Manu, right? He had 3 sons, two sons, Priyavrata and Uttanapad. And so from Priyavrata, if you go down that line, we've already heard about King Nabi, Rishabdev we heard about in the 4th canto, Bharat, who becomes Jada Bharat, that whole story that we heard about, in the 5th canto.
There's like Kaustubha in our previous episodes.
Yeah. And then from the son Uttanapad, that was the whole story of Dhruva Maharaj, incredible story there. And that line goes down, and King Vena, the evil king who the Brahmins have to wipe out through sound vibration, and then King Prithu, who came after him, and the Prachetas, King Prachini Barhi, Daksha. We've been hearing so much about them. We also heard about from his daughter, Devahuti. We heard about Lord Kapila is born from Devahuti, and that was back in the 3rd canto. And now we're going to hear in this chapter about another daughter of Svayambhuva, Akuti, who gives birth to an incarnation of Krishna named Yagna. So he's saying, we've heard about Svayambhuva Manu. Can you tell me about these other Manus too? Keep filling me in. And what that'll lead to, as the chapter wraps up, is there'll be a mention that another avatar of Lord Vishnu is born into the family, and that avatar of Lord Vishnu is the one that saved the elephant Gajendra. And that brings up the question, tell me more about Gajendra, the elephant that was saved by Lord Vishnu. So that's what's going to happen in this chapter. It opens up by asking about the Manus, but it's going to go, he's first going to talk more about Svayambhuva Manu. Such a fascinating character, a person that's whose power and influence we can't even begin to calculate. And watch how he spends his life and watch where he places his consciousness. You know, the practices that he does he steps away from all the kingly opulence.
Mm.
He lives this incredibly simple, austere life, and he begins to meditate on, you know what? I'm not the controller. There's a whole nother system of control going on. It's so easy for someone with that kind of influence to become lost in their own power. This is how he stays in touch. This is how he keeps his focus through these meditations that he shares with us.
You know, I also think the Bhagavatam, because it zooms out and it follows these beings in different lifetimes, and now they're born as a elephant, and previously they were a king. I think because it does that, it gives you this hint of everyone's got a backstory. You see a person behaving horribly, even within this life, they have some backstory. It's not just like that's coming out of nowhere. We tend to want to hate those who are acting horribly, but they have some type of backstory that almost got them to that position. Or sometimes you see someone who's just like really benevolent and really loving. They have a backstory. And sometimes that backstory is childhood, where they were very impressionable. But sometimes even that childhood is coming from some other backstory in a previous life. You know, and as devotees, we have this practice where we extend kindness, we extend love, we extend compassion to everybody. And we try not to judge them for what to speak of their past. We try not to judge their past. We don't even judge them for their behavior. We practice a tolerance, compassion, and love, even those who are behaving poorly, and try to see them as some pure spiritual entity. And we try to pull that out of them. And that's a type of real love that Vaishnavas, any good person or good will try to do to people. Tolerate, compassion, and love whatever people's insanity is, and pull out that spiritual side. See them for what they are. See them for their deep potential. And just reading these stories makes you remember, who knows where these people are coming from? That's right. Even in the animal species.
Thank you for that, Raghunath.
The very spiritual element, my friend.
Well, that story of Gajendra is going to be there's really three big stories in this canto, in the 8th canto. There's the story of Gajendra, which is 3 chapters 2 through 4. Then there's this conflict between the Devas and the Asuras. This is 8 chapters.
When will these guys make peace? Come on.
They never quite do.
They never quite do.
I mean, they do temporarily, but then it kind of, it comes up again, because that's the nature of the material world. It's like there's times of peace and there's times of conflict, and it's always, it heats up and then it cools down. Hot war, cold war.
Yeah.
And but this conflict, there's so many lessons to learn between the Devas and Asuras, and it's all centered around their churning of the ocean of milk. Very fascinating.
What a story. What a story.
It's so great. And then there's the story of Bali Maharaj, who's born in the family of the Suras, who's born in the demoniac lineage. But again, Bhagavatam showing us that birth doesn't matter. Yeah. Wherever we find devotion, it actually, Bali Maharaj becomes glorified beyond that of the Devas, who are kind of like, their position is kind of shown as like they're kind of religious, but the depth of the spirituality and divine love, they don't possess it like he does, even though he's born in the demoniac family. So
great souls can be born in crazy families.
They can.
Great important message.
Okay. Text 3.
Okay. Text 3. O learned Brahmana, kindly describe to us whatever activities the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who created the cosmic manifestation, has performed in the past manvantars, is performing at present, and will perform in future manvantars.
He could see the future.
In the present kalpa, there already been 6 Manus.
Why do you skip? You got to say Sukadeva Goswami.
Because I'm trying to read it like a
You didn't
story.
change your voice, though, so nobody knows who's speaking. Okay. So now Sukadeva Goswami answers it.
Sukadeva Goswami speaking. In the present kalpa, there have already been 6 Manus. I have described to you. I have described to you Swayambhuva Manu and the appearance of many demigods. In this kalpa of Brahma, Swayambhuva is the first Manu.
Okay.
It's got a whole bigger concept of time than we're using.
Much bigger time scale.
It's like we think, this is our life. No. There's beings with much longer lives Even on this planet, turtles, right? Oak
Yeah,
trees. They've got a whole different lifespan.
How long does a turtle live?
200 years, Mara? You got that? No, I'm not. 150, Catherine A says. We'll get to the bottom of it. Swayambhuva Mana had 2 daughters named Akuti and Devahuti. From their wombs, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared as 2 sons named Yagyamurti and Kapila, respectively. These sons were entrusted with preaching about religion and knowledge.
Dharma and Jnana.
Dharma and Jnana. O best of the Kurus, I've already described in the 3rd canto the activities of Kapila, the son of Devahuti. Now I shall describe to you the activities of Yagyapati, the son of Akuti.
Okay, but first he's going to talk a little bit more about Swayambhuva.
So Swayambhuva, the husband of Satarupa, was by nature not at all attached to enjoyment of the senses. Thus he gave up his kingdom of sense enjoyment and entered the forest with his wife to practice austerities. So was Swayambhuva Manu, or all the Manus for that matter, were they like tangible beings like you could touch, shake hands with, or were they like ethereal demigods? What's your...
Well, we know that the beings on the higher planets, that the higher planets are made of a finer, more subtle matter.
Like if I was to embrace Lord Brahma, would I just like go right through him? Like,
I'm
like
not
you know what I
sure.
mean? Or would he just like be like...
He's real. That much I know.
Well, real is real. Okay, we have to unmute Visheshika Prabhu
Let's
here.
see what he has to say about it.
Visheshika Prabhu, can you unmute,
We ask
please?
dumb questions on this podcast.
You know what? They're not dumb.
I know, I'm just kidding.
Real people want
I'm
to
just
know.
kidding. I just really... The bodies of these higher beings. Can you share any info on that?
Can we embrace
But
Brahma?
one thing is that we find out in the 2nd canto of the Bhagavatam that when Krishna gives instruction to Brahma about creating the universe, he gives him this benediction. He says, Bhadram te, good luck, Brahma. And he shakes his hand. Because
Wait,
that's where
Krishna
handshakes
shakes his
come
hand?
from.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
who knows if you can even touch Krishna? Can you touch Krishna?
yeah, well, that's kind
That's
of the
my
reverse.
question.
You know, oftentimes people think material is something substantial. Spiritual means something wispy or
Yeah. Like
amorphous.
cloud.
It's actually the opposite. Whatever material forms we see here are only held in place by consciousness. And so consciousness is substantial, and matter is the part that's always falling apart. That's one of Krishna's main points in the Bhagavad Gita, that there's an enervation in the material world, which means everything's always falling apart, but spirit's always solid. So
Interesting.
it's the real thing.
The subtle is the solid, we say. The solid
is the subtle. We were just saying that last week, right?
Okay, but sometimes you hear about the birth of Lord Chaitanya and all the demigods appeared mystically and were offering prayers, but people didn't see them. So I'm thinking it seems like they are sort of like, some type of cloud-like being, almost like.
Well, Prabhupada does say, like, there are people that live in the sun, but they have fiery bodies. Like they have a body that's.
Yeah, sure. So I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying.
No, I'm agreeing with
Manu
you.
walking
I'm
and
talking. I'm agreeing with you.
Can we all see Manu, or is he cloud-like?
Well, I'll tell
I'm
you
not even
this.
saying. Because he's man. He's the father of mankind.
Yeah, we understand the question. I normally don't share something like this right now, but I believe that I had a dream one time.
Are you about to reveal some?
I had a dream one time. I'm being dead serious. I had a dream where I believe I met a higher being. This should get your attention.
God,
not
or
God,
demigod?
but a person from the higher planets, and their body was different, and their jewelry was different. It was just different.
Sounds like a bunch of speculation to me.
No, I had this dream. My speculation that it was a being from a higher planet. The reason why I believe it was a being from a higher planet was, one, they were so different.
Sure.
And two, because it matched all these descriptions in these books.
Okay.
And and someone could say, well, then you just imposed it in your mind. But I couldn't have imagined it, even having read the books. You understand? I couldn't have imagined it being like it was. And it was a different type of body they had.
I don't know if I'm getting an answer to my question, and I'm okay with that also, because
Well,
we
the
may
fu-
just say we just might not know.
Maybe you're
I
getting
want to
it,
know
but
if I can. I want to know if Manu just was like a man, looked like a man. Of course, a super powerful man.
yeah, he looked like a man. He was a man. He had
And
a
you could
wife. He had kids.
okay, but so does Brahma, and we
Yeah.
don't see him unless he chooses
No,
for
he
us
can
to
be
see
seen.
him.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Not everybody's going to see him.
Okay, maybe they can be seen and touched and undo that and just floats and be invisible. Maybe
Okay.
that.
All right. Well,
All right.
let's keep reading. Maybe it'll be answered.
Okay. Maybe it'll be answered. Okay.
Okay. Oh, here we go. This is
Sexy.
hold on. Varshesh Guru shared something on the chat board. In the subtle heavenly planets, the bodies of the demigods consist of gross knowledge.
Gross knowledge.
Refer to Govinda. We got to unmute again.
Okay, we have to take.
Varshesh Guru, could you explain what that meant?
Vishesh Prabhu, you are unmuted.
Yeah, I was just looking through some of the Veda base. I put in bodies of the demigods.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, it says here's one from Jiva Goswami. The heavenly planets are material and thus temporary, and the bodies of the demigods are also material and thus temporary. In the course of time, the heavenly planets and the bodies of demigods are destroyed. That doesn't answer your question exactly, except for it's material, obviously, but it's just subtle.
Subtle material, Raghunath.
Yeah,
Just
like
accept that
like
for now.
mind. I do.
Okay.
I do. That's what I went into this
satisfied with
question
that for now.
accepting that.
No, be satisfied with
no,
that.
I'm not satisfied with it.
Okay.
I don't think it's great just to be satisfied. I think you got to
All
keep
right.
that desire.
You're so
to
into
know.
countering me lately. No matter what I say, you shoot it down.
Text
Okay,
8.
don't be satisfied. Inquire deeper. Never be
Always
satisfied.
inquire,
There we
Kusuba.
go.
Always inquire.
Okay. Thank you, Vaishnav.
Osayan and Bart. Swayambhuva Manu. Wait, I'm sorry. Osayan and Bart, after Swayambhuva Manu had thus entered the forest with his wife, he stood on one leg on the bank of the river Sunanda. And in this way, with only one leg touching the earth, he performed great austerities for 100 years. While performing these austerities, he spoke as follows.
Okay. So he just imagine. There's something for us to gain from this example, right? Because they say the pauper is proud of his penny, right? If we get even a little bit of influence or a little bit of power or some position,
Yeah.
even if we don't, we get proud. And it's like the power is Krishna's opulence, and he can possess unlimited power and still like be sweet as sugar, just like and we get just a drop of Krishna's opulence, and we're in our very limited and illusioned existence, it makes it like poisons us in a sense. It makes us more hard. It's toxic for us.
Intoxicated with ego. It's unbelievable.
Now Manu is a controller that's like beyond what we can imagine. A president is like nothing compared to this. You go up into these higher levels of planetary systems, and the influence and the power is just growing and growing, and he's way up there, pretty much near the top. And rather than bask in the opulence of that, enjoying it like crazy, he says, I don't want my consciousness to become polluted by some false idea of who I am and how powerful I am. I want to know the truth. I want to be in touch with the truth. It's only when I'm situated in truth does real life begin. Do I have connection with the divine? Do I become lit up, and excited with with reality? I want that. I don't want to lose touch with that. So I'm going to take my devoted wife. We're going to go out to the river. I'm going to stand on one leg for 100 years. Okay. I mean, that's
the thing. That's the thing about there. Yeah. It's like some type of weird yogic austerity, and it pleases some I don't know why a demigod would be pleased with that, but they get pleased by.
I think it has the intention is what's so important here, right? Although we do see whether it's pleased, I think the demigods have a certain almost like in Karma Mimamsa philosophy, they say, the demigods are they have to respond to your austerity.
I wonder if Visheshika Prabhu remembers. Visheshika Prabhu, remember that guy on the Parikram Trail in Vrindavan? He used to stand on one leg. He used to stand there. He had a little swing.
Yeah.
Every day. He would never, one leg, one strong.
After a while, he got some followers who also started doing the same thing.
Yeah, I think they built a little temple around his little swing. I wonder what happened to him.
Well,
some circulation issues probably.
Tapasya is, an important facet of yoga. Maybe, we're running out of time today. Let's come back tomorrow. Let's talk a little bit about tapasya. And then we begin to hear, it's not, you see, with Manu, it wasn't just tapasya. Like, he wasn't just standing on one leg.
Right.
He was standing on one leg and he was meditating. And we're going to begin to hear his meditations, and they're really profound. So why don't we pick up there tomorrow with talking about some tapasya, what it's all about.
Oh, wow. It's time.
Yeah.
That went fast. Thank you. All right, Mara, we have some takeaways.
Yeah.
What's our takeaways today?
We got some good stuff. The best way to change the world is change yourself.
Yeah.
I like that.
Pick up Prabhupada's books to change your life.
Yep.
It's one of the best possible ways.
Bhagavatam is a medicine for our illness and pains.
I like that. You got a pain? Bhagavatam. You take the Bhagavatam medicine.
Every one of us has a crocodile glomming on our leg.
Glomming. We got to use that in the title of this show.
Okay.
Be tolerant and extend love and compassion to everyone.
What was that?
Be tolerant and extend love and compassion to everyone.
Okay.
Was that coming from Raghunath's thing?
Raghunath.
He went on.
Because
Raghunath, 2024.
Which brings me to the next one. Every one of us has a backstory.
Yeah.
True.
Great souls can be born in crazy families.
It happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa, too.
Yes.
And
yeah.
Don't be satisfied. Inquire deeper.
Keep going, Raghunath. Inquire deeper.
All right. Gotta keep inquiring. Thanks, Visheshika Prabhu, for joining our show. Srimad Bhagavatam.
I'm going to give generously this year.
I'm
going to give generously.
You're a very generous man.
We're meant to earn. What was it? In the interview that I did with Keshwar Swami, I said, earn with integrity and give with generosity. This is my chance to give right now. I'd like to give to the cows. I like to give to the brahmanas. This is a nice way to give to the brahmanas. It's all Krishna's energy. You gotta. That's gonna come up. The verse, the Isavashyam verse from Ishopanishad. Swami Bhuvamana is going to say practically the exact same verse coming up tomorrow. That none of this is our property. Give it away. Right?
Give it away. It's not yours. Once you get attached to it, it's stripped out of your hands.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for joining us on Zoom. How do they get the link for Zoom now if people are hearing this? How do they get that link?
Same way. Write to wisdomsages108@gmail.com.
Wisdomsages108@gmail.com. Mara, send in your questions for Q&A day or write them on the new Wisdom of the Sages platform. If you're not a member of the Wisdom of the Sages platform, if you like what we're doing, get something out of this podcast, go to wisdomofthesages.com, be a monthly contributor, and join our Sage community platform.
Just glom onto it.
Yeah, glom onto that platform. And you get access to thousands, maybe not thousands, but hundreds of classes, information, workshops, yoga classes.
I think this week we're going to drop your classes from the previous week. Your Krishna's Not a Tyrant class.
Okay, I think we recorded some classes this weekend, too.
Yeah, I think I've got one.
I want to make sure, Mara, make sure you record his Radhastami talk as well.
Am I giving the talk on Radhastami?
Oh, I thought you were. Maybe you're not.
I don't know.
I think you are. I think you are. I'm not sure, but I think you are.
Let's check in with Henry.
Come on, man.
I just had a little book table set up. Anyway, look at everyone. If everyone's in the D.C. area, come down to Potomac Temple. And I think Martine's going to be
Wednesday.
around.
We got to decide what we're doing Wednesday.
Srimati Radharani's appearance day.
Okay.
Super excited.
Wednesday may be a day off here.
What are you doing, Kastu, Wednesday?
Well, I'll do
you're
my
doing-
save at home,
Yeah.
and I'll go to the Bhakti Center in the evening.
All right. Anyway, thanks everybody for joining us in Zoom. It's a beautiful day for a beautiful day. Let the magic continue to flow in a big Haribol.